What if you woke up one day and you were a genius? You could read 1,000 words per minute, solve problems that scientists spent decades on, understand languages you had never studied. Sounds like a dream, right? But what if that gift was only borrowed? What if everything you gained, the intelligence, the awareness, the understanding, was slowly, painfully taken away from you? This is the story of Charlie Gordon, a man who went from the bottom of the world to the top and then fell harder than anyone ever imagined. This is Flowers for Algernon. Charlie Gordon is a 32-year-old man living in New York City. But Charlie is not like most people his age. He has an IQ of just 68, which means he struggles with things most of us take for granted: reading, writing, understanding jokes, following conversations. He works at a bakery, cleaning floors, delivering bread, doing simple jobs. His co-workers always laugh at him. They call it pulling a Charlie Gordon when someone does something dumb. But here's the thing about Charlie. He doesn't know they are laughing at him. He thinks they are his friends. He thinks their laughter means they like him. And in that innocence, there is something heartbreakingly beautiful. Charlie has one dream, one simple, powerful dream. He wants to be smart. Not rich, not famous, just smart. Smart enough to read a book, smart enough to understand the world around him, smart enough to be treated like a real person. Every night, he goes to a special adult class run by a kind teacher named Miss Kinnian. He works harder than any of her other students, not because he learns fast, but because he tries harder than anyone else. And Miss Kinnian sees that. She believes in Charlie, and so she recommends him for something extraordinary. At a research university, two scientists, Dr. Strauss and Professor Nemur, have developed a surgical procedure, a procedure that can dramatically increase human intelligence. They have already tested it on a mouse, a white mouse named Algernon. And Algernon is no ordinary mouse anymore. After the surgery, he can solve complex mazes at incredible speed. His intelligence has been multiplied many times over. Now, the scientists want to try it on a human being. And Charlie Gordon, eager, hardworking, full of hope, is chosen. He is not chosen because he is the smartest candidate. He is chosen because he wants it the most. Charlie signs the papers. He doesn't fully understand what he is agreeing to, but he trusts the doctors. He trusts Miss Kinnian. The surgery happens, and then the waiting begins. At first, nothing changes. Charlie still struggles to read, still loses at checkers to Algernon, who runs a maze while Charlie tries to figure it out. He writes in his journal, which the doctors ask him to keep, and the early entries are full of spelling mistakes and broken sentences. He writes, "I hope I get smart like they say." Simple words, but inside them, a lifetime of longing. And then, something shifts, slowly at first, then faster, then like a flood. Charlie starts to notice things he never noticed before. He reads a book and understands it. He reads another and finishes it in one night. He starts to beat Algernon in the maze tests. Within weeks, his IQ has skyrocketed past the scientists who created the procedure. He learns new languages. He reads philosophy, science, literature. He understands complex mathematics. His mind becomes a machine, powerful, precise, unstoppable. But as Charlie gets smarter, he starts to see the world differently. He realizes that his friends at the bakery were never really his friends. They were mocking him, laughing at his expense, using him as a joke. He realizes that Dr. Strauss and Professor Nemur, the men who made him what he is, are not as brilliant as they think. He can see the flaws in their research. He corrects their mistakes. He makes them feel small. He falls in love with Miss Kinnian, and she may love him too. But the smarter Charlie becomes, the more alone he feels. Because intelligence without emotional depth is just loneliness with bigger words. He can discuss Plato and Einstein and quantum physics, but he cannot connect with a single human being. The people who once laughed at him now fear him, and the woman who believed in him, he has grown beyond her in ways she cannot follow. Charlie Gordon wanted to be smart so the world would accept him, but the smarter he became, the more the world pushed him away. And then Algernon starts to change. The little white mouse, the first success of the experiment, begins to deteriorate. He moves slower, his maze scores drop, he becomes aggressive, confused. And Charlie, now brilliant enough to understand the science behind his own transformation, begins to investigate. What he discovers destroys him. The surgery does not create permanent intelligence. It accelerates the brain, but the acceleration is not sustainable. The brain burns too bright, too fast, and then it burns out. Charlie runs the calculations. He checks them again and again. The results are always the same. What went up must come down. He writes a scientific paper about it, what he calls the Algernon-Gordon effect, documenting the inevitable decline of artificially enhanced intelligence. It is perhaps the greatest scientific achievement of his life, and it is a paper about his own destruction. Charlie Gordon's last journal entries are the most painful things in the entire novel, because he knows, or partly knows, what has happened to him. He remembers, in fragments, that he was once brilliant. He remembers that he loved someone. He remembers a white mouse. But the details are fading, dissolving, like a dream after waking. At the end, Charlie decides to leave New York. He doesn't want anyone to see him like this, especially not Miss Kinnian, especially not the scientists who turned him into an experiment and a paper and a footnote. He wants to go somewhere new, somewhere no one knows his history. In his very last journal entry, he writes only one request. He asks whoever reads his journal, please, if you get a chance, put some flowers on Algernon's grave in the backyard. That's it. No anger, no bitterness, no self-pity. Just a small, quiet act of love for a little white mouse who ran the same maze he did and lost the same way. Flowers for Algernon is not just a story about intelligence. It is a story about what it means to be human. Charlie Gordon, with an IQ of 68, had more kindness, more genuine love, more pure desire to grow than most people with twice his intelligence. And in the end, what he lost was not just his mind. It was the awareness of everything he had briefly, beautifully possessed. Daniel Keyes wrote this story to ask us one question. Is it better to have been smart and lost it, or to have never known at all? I'll leave that answer to you. If this story moved you, please subscribe and share this video. Tomorrow, we bring you another novel, another world, another story worth knowing. Until then, take care of yourself, and maybe put some flowers on Algernon's grave.